No questions, right?
No, not at all. I was going to ask you about your Big Finish work that you've been doing of late, because you did the Companion Chronicle where you were playing Jamie older.
Mm.
You did that first, and then after that you came back as apparently Jamie but older, but slightly different. Now I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't heard them, but that was a few years ago, so I'm imagining everyone's heard it now. And you were kind of a fictional version of Jamie?
Yeah, well, the first one I did was the Helican Prime. That was Companion's Chronicle in, I think, 2007. And that was sort of young Jamie and Patrick. And I just happened to do a line like Patrick, and the director went, "Oh, actually, that sounds like Patrick." I said, "Well, I do this sort of gag about Patrick, and in conventions. So we'll just do it." So I did it. Then I didn't hear anything for about 2 years. I thought, God, they've either sold none, or it must have been really rubbish. So then I got phone calls. "Oh, we'd like you to do another Companion's Chronicle." "Oh, great!" And this was called the Glorious Revolution. And that to me was a lovely story. Not that Helican Prime wasn't, but the Glorious Revolution was because Jamie was still the young Jamie. But he was in his time, the times of James I. So it wasn't a space bubble or spaceship. He actually knew the costumes were, what he was used to. And I said, "Do you want me to do lines like with Patrick?" They said, "Oh yeah, can you do Patrick again?" And I said to David Richardson, the producer, "But Patrick's got more dialogue here. Don't I get 2 fees?" He said, "No, you still get the one fee." But I love doing Patrick. It's because, I love the guy, working with him, and for 3 years we had a happy time. But the Doctor Who magazine, when Glorious Revolution came out, great write-up, blowing my own trumpet, but I just love it because it said, it was lovely to hear Hines and Troughton working together after all these years. Then I realised, wait a minute, Troughton died in 87, therefore Hines is arguing with himself.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I do it, rather than do all Jamie's lines,
Which
then
is a testament to your
do
acting
all
ability.
Patrick's. I just stand in the booth and I've got Patrick's lines blue for the TARDIS and Jamie's red for the kilt, sort of thing. So and I just talk like that, which it's great, it stretches you as an actor, but you don't want it to be too easy.
Did Patrick ever hear you do an impression of him?
No.
You didn't do it to him?
No, it didn't come out till after he had died. It just so happened that we were talking about the Emperor Dalek. I always think she'd be the Empress because it looks like she's got gold bra on. I think when you look at it, it's got all the black. It should be the Empress Dalek, and obviously she's the Mother Dalek. But they always called her the Emperor. And just because we're in black and white, it's only when I saw the picture in colour, I thought, actually, yeah, it should be the Empress. But my line was, "Look at the balls on that thing, Doctor." And I couldn't say it. And we were laughing and giggling. I think Paddy Russell, the director, tearing her hair out. "For goodness sake, grow up, grow up." In the end, we changed to, "Look at the size of that thing, Doctor." So, speed on years later to the 2 Doctors, my first line, when Patrick and I are in the TARDIS, "Look at the size of that space station, Doctor." And I changed it to, "Look at the size of that thing, Doctor." And John Nathan Turner said, "No, stop, the read-through. No. It says, 'Look at the size of that space station.'" And Patrick goes, No. At the beginning of every show, Jamie always says, "Look at the size of that thing, Doctor." And I go, "Yes, Jamie, it is a big one, isn't it?" So that's how it came about. So I told that story sort of years later. In fact, if you see the Seeds of Death, when we land in that museum, I've got it in my one-man. I do a one-man Doctor Who show, which I've got clips from all the Doctor Who's right up to the present day. We walk into that, and I go, "Hey, look at the size of that thing, Doctor," ad-libbing, and he goes, "Yes, it is rather large, isn't it?" But that's it. So we try to get that line in every time. So that's how I started to do it. Just that one little story, and that's when they said, "Well, actually, you sound like Patrick. Do for the Big Finish." And I love working with Big Finish. I think they've helped a lot to keeping the Doctor Who alive when it came off the air.
Yeah.
And working with Colin was great fun because we got on so well together in the 2 Doctors. We'd known each other over the years. In fact, I think he married one of my old girlfriends. So we know each other inside and out, so to speak. And when we did but that was, as you say, that was kind of the without spoiling.
Yeah, it was Jamie with a slightly different take.
Yeah, because
Did
he
you
started
approach it
as Donald, you know, or whatever, and then he kind of mellowed a little bit, sort of. Yeah.
But you did play it as though the events in War Games had wiped his memory, and he couldn't remember who the Doctor was, and he had to develop a relationship with the Doctor again.
Yeah, but funny enough, I saw the War Games the other day for a documentary. The other day, 6 months ago, and in actual fact, Patrick says, "Will they forget me?" Mm-hmm. And the Time Lord says, "Not entirely. They'll remember their first story with you." Now, my first story was the Highlanders, which ended in me getting into the TARDIS and waving goodbye to my lead. So I'd still remember.
Yeah.
I'd remember getting into this blue box, flying off into space. So his memory wasn't entirely erased, was it? When you look at it that way.
That makes sense.
The end of the Highlanders, it didn't go, and then the next story, let's go and get Jamie. My first story ended with me getting into the TARDIS and waving goodbye to Kirsty and my lead. So the Time Lord didn't accept.
And then they went and messed it up with the Five Doctors when you were a ghost.
Yes, but that was, but that was quite right. But that was fine because I mentioned the Brigadier, you see, and Patrick quite rightly would have said, "Well, hang on, you would have read in the first story, but the Brigadier was not in the first story." So that was quite fine. But that was, I mean, originally I was in the Five Doctors. I was supposed to be with Patrick all the way through, and the Brigadier was going to be with John Pertwee. But Emmerdale Farm, I'd just done Panto, and I said, "Oh, I need another 6 weeks off," and they wouldn't release me. So no, you've got to come back to Emmerdale. So I rang John and Nathan Turner. I said, "The ITV won't release me." I can't. So he said, "Well, I'll tell you what. If you get any time off, come and do. Just let me know." And I actually rang him. So I've got next Wednesday, Thursday off. He said, "Well, I want you in the show." So Wednesday, I went down. We did the Five Doctors, fooled around, Patrick and I, and John Nathan Turner said, I just think it was like I put you and Patrick in a prop cupboard for 16 years and wound you up and wheeled you back on. How do you find to do some more? So I'm definitely count me in. So that's done. If I'd got the script for the Five Doctors, which I did, and so John Nathan Turner said, "I'm not coming all the way to London to go, 'No, stand back, Doctor. No, I can't be bothered to do that.' I wouldn't have done the two Doctors." So I was so pleased that I said, "Yeah, I'll do it," because I wanted to work with Patrick again.
Never say no to work.
Yeah, and I agreed then to go back to Emmerdale, and I was kicking myself because I think if I'd said to John Nathan Turner, you've got Perry and the Doctor, you haven't got a male companion. Why don't I stay like 16 years ago? You know, when I first joined after the Highlanders, and I think J&T would have said, "Do you want to? Yeah, shall we?" And they could have just rewritten the scripts like they did in 1966, you know, when I wasn't supposed to be in as a companion. For the next 3 stories, they kept just giving me lines from Ben and Polly, and until they were at that. So I'm sure J&T would have, because they didn't have a male companion, and I got on well with Nicola Bryant, and I got on well with Colin.
And you could have ended up meeting the Daleks again and ending up in the Trial of Time Lords. So
Yeah.
that's a whole level of fan fiction now we can go back to.
Yeah.
What was it like working with J&T?
I liked him. But apparently, if he didn't like you, then you were, you've had it. But no, I always got well with him, and we did conventions. We go to America, do the American conventions. We'd always have a couple of Vera Vods, large vodka and tonics, you know. So he was. No, I liked him. I know there's quite a few people say he wasn't good for the show. I thought he was very good for the show, and he was up for himself all the time. Well, you know, we're all here to make money and look after ourselves, but I always got on very well with him, always. And he never tried to shut me up in my kilt either. Neither did Gary. Boys, yeah. They knew it'd be wasting their time.